saphela isizwe simnyama iwasafa
isizwe saba
yavula moya ayinkonke lize wemaye wemolo wasafa saphela isizwe simnyama iwasafa
isizwe saba
yavula moya ayinkonke lize wemaye ngiyakhala wasafa phela isizwe simnyama iwasafa
isizwe saba
alamulaba ayinkonke lize wemaye wemolo
Yeah. Hello, wonderful viewers. How are you all doing today? I sure do hope you're all doing okay. All right. Welcome to the broadcast of today. And we hope it's going to be a very short one because what we actually wanted to focus on is the going or things or events happening in the motherland. And to use our platform as a medium to carry out our message, of which most media houses and reporters, they don't speak passionately of the events that's going on in the motherland, which we all know as Africa. And because they are much more financially focused on how to raise money through their channels or their handles, so they wouldn't be able to speak freely, boldly, and passionately. They need to be tactical, diplomatical, and politically correct and conscious of their broadcast. But here we here on Asian to Do, we do our things different from the others. All right? Okay. The topic of today's broadcast, global bloodletting, of which we all know what has really gone down in a couple of days lately. So for that reason, we are here to quickly dive into things and talk about it. We're going to start up our broadcast with the air mishap of the Indian Dreamliner that crashed, and all passengers on board were killed. They had to die. And in subsequent programs, we'll talk a little bit deeper about it. But for now, we just want to hit the top. We wanted to highlight the events going on in Burkina Faso, the awesome, wonderful things Traore is doing. We wanted to talk about it. That's the video there on your screen. But then we decided to shove it for maybe later or tomorrow. But for now, we're going to be focused on the events that is happening right now. Right now. When we say right now, we mean right now. And or perhaps around the world. So, let it begin. You know, there is something that happened that really got me upset about this plane crash and how heartless some people can be. But let us start from the lead of first post vantage, so we'll be able to get down to where we are driving at. All right? Okay. That's the crash site. And you also, let me take it back a bit. That's the aircraft. Look at the aircraft here. The way it took off. Something went wrong. And suddenly, a couple of minutes later, it landed. And what we saw was smoke. Watch. Now that is the explosion of the plane. You know, things don't just happen from the physical. They are engineered from sometimes the ether, the metaphysical. But we are not going to dive into that today. And this plane that crashed is just 10 years in service. For an aircraft to become old, it means the plane needs to have been in service for like 30 years, 3 decades, 3. But this one is just within 1 decade, 10 years. And the pilot has over 8,000 flight hours. That means he's an experienced pilot. So what could have led to this plane crash? It's a mystery that needs to be solved. Technically, it is solved, but also technically, it cannot be released in a hurry because a whole lot of smoke and dust needs to clear. Why we decided to make this brief analysis of this particular video is because you're going to hear from the hostess, or perhaps the newscaster, Parky. You will hear from her an analysis. Then we'll now play a heartless soul that is a content maker that had to say some rubbish about this particular crash. So let's go there.
It's a terrible day to do the news because there's only grief and heartbreak today. I'm sure you've seen the pictures already. An Air India plane crashed in Ahmedabad today. It took off in the afternoon, but within minutes, it plunged to the ground, right into a college hostel near the airport. The crash was captured on camera. Take a look.
पूरे ही गए होंगे।
You can imagine what those people went through. They were traveling to London today, maybe to meet family, maybe for vacation, maybe for a job or a college degree. Whatever the reason, you can imagine their emotions. You can also imagine the horror that followed. That's what makes aviation disasters so heartbreaking, the scale and the suddenness of it. The question is, how did this one happen? Let's retrace the plane's journey. This flight was operated by Air India. It used to be India's state-run flight carrier, but in 2022, Air India was bought by the Tata Group. The plane that crashed today was a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner. It is a wide-body passenger plane. It can carry up to 250 people. Now we come to the journey itself. This flight was heading to London's Gatwick Airport. It was carrying 242 people. That's 230 passengers, 10 crew members and 2 pilots, 242 in all. Some foreign nationals were among the passengers, 53 British citizens, 1 Canadian citizen and 7 Portuguese nationals. The remaining 169 passengers were Indian. That's what the flight manifest says. The plane took off from Ahmedabad at 1:38 p.m. local time. It climbed up to an altitude of 625 feet. But within minutes, the plane started dropping. And you saw what happened next. The aircraft crashed into a nearby building. It seems the pilots knew that something was wrong because immediately after takeoff, they reached out to Air Traffic Control or ATC and they raised a mayday call, which is basically a call of distress. And after that, the ATC got back to the aircraft, but there was no response from the other side. Perhaps there was a loss of signal or the plane had already crashed. Now, I know what all of you are thinking. How did the crash happen? Planes are considered the safest modes of transport. This plane, the 787, has never crashed before. So what went wrong this time? Let's go back to the crash visuals. You can see that the plane is struggling to gain altitude. The nose is pointing up, but the rear of the plane just kept plunging. Experts say this shows that the aircraft could not gain lift. Now, what does that mean? Lift is basically a force that pushes the plane up. It allows the aircraft to take off from the ground. It also holds the aircraft in the air. If the plane gathers enough lift, it can climb up and fly away. If not, this can happen, a crash. Of course, the next question is, why wasn't there enough lift? Hundreds of flights take off every day. Why did this one not gain lift? I'm sure an investigation will answer that. We do not wish to speculate here. Investigators will have to recover the black box. They will have to analyze the data. Only then will we know for sure. Having said that, experts have floated multiple theories like engine failure or bird hits, technical snags or wrong takeoff configurations. The fact is we cannot be sure, especially looking at the information that we have. Like I said, the 787 is a pretty reliable aircraft. It has never been in a crash before. Plus, this wasn't some old aircraft either. This particular 787 made its first flight in December 2013. It was delivered to Air India in January 2014, so the plane was just 10 years old. For perspective, an average aircraft is in service for up to 30 years. So this plane was not all that old, 10 years old. And what about the pilots? The plane was commanded by Captain Sumit Sabharwal. His co-pilot was First Officer Clive Kundar. The captain had 8,200 hours of flying experience and the co-pilot had 1,100 hours. So clearly experience was not a problem either. I know it's tempting to dig deeper into what happened, to fall into a rabbit hole, but we would advise against it. Air crash investigations are extremely complicated and sensitive. There are families involved. There are victims involved. So do not turn it into a game of speculation. With that said, let's look at the aftermath. The plane crashed into a residential area in Ahmedabad, specifically near a medical college hostel. Parts of the plane were strewn across the area. Take a look at this. There's debris all around the place, and the fire seems to have charred nearby buildings. And casualties, well, the count is still being updated. Most of the injured were rushed to nearby hospitals. Reports say more than 200 deaths have been confirmed. Now, we are not sure if these fatalities are passengers or people living in the hostel. More than 200 confirmed so far. It could take time to ascertain that detail. Which brings us to the government response. Gujarat's chief minister visited survivors in the hospital. The Union Aviation Minister is also in Ahmedabad. A control room has been activated at the Aviation Ministry. A hotline has also been established. We are flashing the numbers on your screen. Do reach out if you need any kind of support. As for the rescue efforts, they are expected to take time. You can see the amount of debris and damage. It won't be easy to clear all of this out. Having said that, it's all hands on deck in Ahmedabad. You've got your rapid action forces, you've got the Central Industrial Security Force or CISF, you've got the Central Reserve Police Force or CRPF, and of course you've got the local authorities. All of them are pulling together to help the survivors. The political leadership is also monitoring the events. We have a quote from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is what he said. The tragedy in Ahmedabad has stunned and saddened us. It is heartbreaking beyond words. In this sad hour, my thoughts are with everyone affected by it. Reactions are coming in from across the world. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the crash devastating. Russian President Vladimir Putin extended his sympathies to the families. Ukraine's President Zelensky expressed his condolences. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said that he was saddened by the crash. The Maldivian president pledged solidarity with India. The European Union president called the news heartbreaking. The Chinese ambassador promised solidarity.
Now, you see, the Maldives, the Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, and even China, these three nations, they have not been at peace with India for a while. More especially China, you know. So for these people to extend their condolences, it shows the humanity in them. It shows humanity in them. But on the other hand, we're going to bust through. Okay, let her finish up so that we'll be able to bust through to the other side.
With those affected. As always, grief tends to be a bridge. It brings the whole world together. But India won't be forgetting this tragedy soon. Incidents like these tend to leave a mark on our policy, on our psyche, and our worldview.
Now, you see how she ended it. She said, grief tends to bring people together. They'll forget about the rancors that is between them. So everyone extended that hand to show solidarity with them for what happened. Okay, it has happened, it has happened. Maybe in the nearest future or in some distant future, people can start speculating. You know, people can start speculating. But not almost immediately after the crash, and someone out of the blues just jumped up to bring a different narrative to what played out there. Someone out of the blues just came out to speak because he or she feels that social media has given them an opportunity to become stupid. So that is the reason, this is the very video. That's the reason why they had to start speaking. Technically, you know, sometimes the words might not be that too vocal. Sometimes it might be very technical and subtle. So you have to listen to this very one. And perhaps you make a decision for yourself. All right. So let's go there.
Realized that the last video recorded by the passengers before their death reveals the terrifying truth behind the Air India plane crash. In fact, this deadly tragedy could have been avoided. These three eerie signs reveal the truth behind the deaths of 242 people. First, the plane was severely outdated. In the video recorded by passengers,
Now let's stop this video here. You heard how this nuisance made it clear that there were three eerie signs that showed that this death could have been avoided. That the plane was severely outdated. A Dreamliner has never ever crashed before, and it takes 30 years, technically, for a plane to be outdated. This is just barely 10 years. So now, where did this guy get his own information that the plane was severely outdated, that the death could have been avoided? You see how mindless some people can be. You see, you know, these days, anybody can make a broadcast. It takes something extra for you to sit in front of the camera to speak. You know, it takes something extra. Then some can just make their broadcast with automation. They can automate it and use any voice and any language to do it without showing up their face. So, whosoever that did this broadcast, we guess, did the wrong thing, which is a fact. He or she did the wrong thing, and posterity and the karmic law of nature will definitely judge him or her wherever such an individual is, all in the name of making social media money, YouTube money, Facebook money. Continue.
many things inside the plane were broken, including the lighting, air conditioning, touchscreens, etc.
Okay, another one. He said many of the things inside the plane was broken. Many. How can many of the things in a modern aircraft be broken? The national carrier of India that has been taken off nicely from that airport, that has been going around the world. How come is many things broken? And India, being a nation that is well advanced, will now allow such a plane to be in operation. Can you see? Can you see how mindless some people are? Continue.
Broken, including the lighting, air conditioning, touchscreens, etc. The plane had been flying for over 10 years. Clearly, the airline had neglected the inspection and maintenance of the aircraft. Secondly, the plane appeared to struggle during ascent. The plane's maximum altitude is 625 feet, but the airport's elevation is about 200 feet. From the video of the flight, it seems that this was caused by the flaps not being deployed. Some speculate.
Now, he said the airport was 200 feet, which is not up to what it needed to be. But this plane has been taken off from that same airport. This plane has been taken off from that same airport. I wonder where some people get their information. This one is just making this his own analysis, like an African that use some sort of software, you know, to enhance his or her voice, to make it standard, then uploaded it. So immediately after the crash, now he did a few research, got a couple of information, now put it out there quickly. He hurriedly put it out like a breaking news so that the traffic will be generated on his handle. Shame on you, big time.
That it was caused by a dual engine failure, while others say it was pilot error. Finally, someone was filming just before the plane crashed, at the right time and place, and the person filming was remarkably calm. This sends a chill down the spine. Many began to suspect that this wasn't a coincidence, but rather premeditated. Preliminary data shows that the plane lost signal less than a minute after taking off from the airport. It's unimaginable how desperate the victims must have been. No one realized that the last video recorded by the
Now, that is the point that I wanted to make about this very video. It's a sad one though, but I as it stands, there is nothing we can do about it. Whatever that went down has happened, and the ones that died as a result of the crash have died. You know? And may their souls rest in peace. This is Ancient Idu, where humanity speaks with passion. We are going to shift our camera to the next phase. And that next phase is just about another bloodletting pact that is happening right now. After this one, we'll now narrow down to where we need to end the program. Why I want to bring this one up now is because of the deception that is involved in this thing, whereby the global elites, their usual modus operandi, MO, they try to take your focus away from their main agenda. You see, these elites, they are technical in an evil way, very technical in an evil way. So they wouldn't mind sacrificing the lives of so many people just to get one agenda, one message out there. Now, why we sounded like this is just to make it clear, because of what's going on between Israel and Iran. Another bloodbath going on. The first one that dropped was the aircraft, the one on your screen. Now, the next one that's coming up is this very one. This very one, and this report is coming straight from Sky News. So we are going to watch it, and it's just for 4 minutes, and listen to what they had to say and their analysis. All right? Okay, thank you.
From earlier this morning of missiles being spotted over Tel Aviv, the fresh wave was fired from Iran as tension in the region escalates. Similar missiles were observed over Jerusalem as both sides exchange fire. So that's just happened in the last couple of hours or so. These pictures are coming in from the Israeli Emergency Services in Haifa, where fires have broken out following the latest barrage. Reports are that 2 people have been injured. Meantime, explosions have been reported in central Tehran and oil facilities which have been targeted by Israel. A US-based human rights group says hundreds of people have been killed in the latest round of fighting. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Iran will pay a heavy price for civilian deaths.
Israeli airstrikes have relentlessly battered Iran for 3 days, but Iran is still managing to fight back. 6 people were killed and dozens wounded when this apartment block near Tel Aviv took a direct hit. They were still pulling people out of the wreckage many hours later.
So we're currently, after about 20 hours of working on the site, trying to put together an intelligence picture to understand who was in which apartment, who wasn't home. We've gathered a lot of intelligence and put together a picture to try to figure out who we're looking for, where we should be looking for, specifically in the building that collapsed. We've extracted a few casualties up to now.
The Israeli military says that 80 ballistic missiles were fired at Israel throughout Saturday night. Millions spent a third night sheltering in safe rooms.
These are the neighbouring streets, and even though they didn't take a direct hit, look at the damage on the buildings. I mean, the shutters completely blown in, windows blown in, and then if you look down here, we can't go any further because the recovery operation is going on. But the damage is immense down there, and you can really see why there were so many, dozens of injuries here, and 6 people killed in the building where the missile hit directly.
Benjamin Netanyahu visited the site and warned that Iran would pay a heavy price for civilian casualties. And Israel's President Isaac Herzog called on the country's allies to stand by them.
And I call upon the leaders of the G7 who will convene tomorrow in Canada. They should all be with us.
Israel has shot down dozens of drones launched from Iran over the past 24 hours. Iran's foreign minister says his country is acting in self-defense.
Self-defense is a recognized principle in international relations. It is the legitimate right of every country to defend itself against aggression. And this is exactly what our armed forces began doing 2 nights ago. Last night, you witnessed new dimensions of this response, and it will continue.
Israeli jets have been striking the capital, Tehran, throughout the 3rd day of this war. Iranian civilians have also been killed in the bombardment. This missile struck next to a shopping centre in the city of Isfahan. And the operation has been expanded. A refuelling plane was hit far in the east of the country. Oil depots and gas refineries have also been struck. Huge fires burnt long into the night as Iran's critical national infrastructure and major source of economy is now being targeted. This is also an attempt to disrupt Iran's fuel supplies to limit their ability to launch missiles at Israel. This afternoon, there was a rare daytime missile attack on Israel.
I've seen one interceptor missile very far in the distance, just a trailing smoke.
There were no reports of impacts or injuries this time. The Israeli government has extended emergency measures across the country until the end of the month. The airport is expected to remain closed for the foreseeable. They're preparing for the war to last many more weeks.
All right. We are going to jump into the second video before we start giving out our analysis about it. Now, the second video is a bit more graphical. And it's for almost 9 minutes to 10 minutes. So, this second video is coming in from Y.R Gravitas. So let's go there. What you are seeing is live shots. This is not Gamebox, this is not Xbox, and this is not Mortal Kombat. It's live shots, real war, all right?
And before we go across to our guest, let's quickly take a look at what's been happening in Israel and Iran, with both sides raining missiles at each other for the 3rd consecutive day. Here's a closer look at the top developments at this hour, visuals that have surfaced that show Iranian missile striking the Israeli port city of Haifa. The visuals on your screens, Iran has been targeting the Haifa city for 2nd consecutive day. 4 people have been reportedly injured and several buildings have been damaged as a result of the ongoing offensive. Israel has launched a wave of airstrikes targeting dozens of surface-to-surface missile sites in western Iran. Renewed Israeli attacks have hit Tehran and other Iranian cities as well. So the casualties, as of now, the number stands at 224. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has confirmed that the Iranian intel chief and his deputy have also been killed in the Israeli missile strikes. Netanyahu has said that Mohammad Kazemi, the head of IRGC Intel, and his deputy Hassan Muhaqiq were targeted in an Israeli airstrike Parallelly, Iran has accused Israel of deliberately targeting a foreign ministry building in Tehran, the visuals of which have surfaced as well. In fact, Iran has also claimed that several civilians have been injured in the latest strike. Iran or the unicameral Iran's parliament is mulling withdrawal from the treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons in wake of Israeli strikes on its nuclear facilities. Deputy leader has said that the minimal necessary measure is withdrawal from the non-proliferation treaty. He says that the country is currently considering the issue in the parliament and even withdrawal from the IAEA, the UN nuclear watchdog. And to discuss this further, Dr. Charles Kupchan, who's Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, joins us live on the broadcast. Dr. Charles, first up, your quick insights on Trump's latest comments. He's warned Iran against attacking American assets. But do you think that Iranians can still do that given the situation that currently persists?
I think it's unlikely that Iran is going to target U.S. assets, whether that is U.S. forces in the region or U.S. installations such as embassies or military bases, because I think Iran knows that if they do target the United States will probably enter the war alongside Israel. And that would mean that an air campaign that is already quite punishing is going to get worse, including the potential use of what we call bunker busters, which are very heavy bombs that the United States can deliver against Iranian targets inside mountains that the Israelis really can't get at. So I think we're going to probably see more of same for the foreseeable future. Iran doing what it can to strike back against Israeli population centers, but probably continuing to be cautious about going after other targets, and in particular, U.S. targets.
Yes. Yes, and Dr. Charles, just to add to that, President Trump even says that the Russians can help mediate at this stage. Do you think that is a possibility? Because these are several statements coming in regarding the mediation. Turkish president, for that matter, has also offered to mediate. Is mediation even a possibility given the volatile situation that currently persists?
You know, mediation may be not quite the right term. I think perhaps pressure or intervention from Russia and or China, for that matter, can be important here, because Russia and China are Iran's two main allies. Russia has been buying a lot of weapons from Iran. China is Iran's economic lifeline. It buys a lot of oil from Iran. And in that respect, if messages were to be sent to Tehran from either the Chinese government or the Russian government, they would be listened to. Now, is Russia or is China going to be willing to play that role, or would they rather see turmoil unfold in the Middle East? We don't know. But if there are any two parties that do have leverage over Tehran, it is Moscow and Beijing.
Yes. Dr. Charles, in addition to that, President Donald Trump has made an important statement. He says that U.S. knew about the Israeli operation but wasn't directly involved in this operation. How do you see that? How does that position the U.S. in this ongoing conflict?
Well, you know, I think it's probably the case that had Trump said to Netanyahu, under no circumstances can you attack Iran, I don't think Israel would have started this conflict, in the sense that the U.S. and Israel are very close partners, and I think in many respects Israel would not do something directly against the wishes and instructions of the American president. That having been said, I think Trump is in an awkward place here. He has in his administration hawks that are more than happy to see Iran hit by Israel and would prefer that the United States join the war. He also has within his administration, particularly the MAGA base, neo-isolationists. The last thing that they want is the U.S. to get involved in another major war in the Middle East. So I think you're seeing Trump try to navigate these two camps within the Republican Party.
Yes, Dr. Charles, so obviously Donald Trump is in a tough spot. But with both Iran and Israel continuing to exchange heavy fire and warnings, what could be the end game of all this? At least one of them will have to hold fire. It's a tit-for-tat attacks going on. Who do you think holds the final key? And what possibly could be the end game here?
You know, I think that this is probably going to continue for quite some time. Israel has made it clear that this is not just a warning strike. This is an effort to debilitate Iran, to decapitate its military leadership, and to do as much damage to the nuclear program as possible. And so far as we know, Israel has near command of Iran's airspace. Yes, Iran still does have some ground-to-air missiles, but the Israelis are continuing to suppress the air defense system of Iran, and that gives Israeli aircraft, Israeli drones, other kinds of assets almost free rein. And as a consequence, I think you'll see.
Yeah. All right, we're going to stop that one there. We are not here to analyze the capabilities of the Israeli military or the Iranian military. You know, while all this is going on, let me put this one up on your screen because this is a point where we are driving at and where we should anchor. But we are not going to run it today. Definitely we run this very one tomorrow. All right? We're going to run this very one tomorrow. These are the 10 achievements of Ibrahim Traore. What he is doing, what his government is doing, and why we need to be aware of what is actually going on in Burkina Faso. Okay? Yeah. You know, while all this bloodletting, global bloodletting is going on, Israel still had the time to send 2 of their special squad soldiers, hitmen, alongside with the ones from America, Britain, and France. They had to move into Burkina Faso very recently, supervising over 47 trucks fully loaded with weapons. And the other weapons they've smuggled into 27 warehouses inside Burkina Faso. They are preparing for a major shakedown of the entire Sahel region to cause a bloody war. A war that will rub off on the entire Sahel states from Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, then by extension, most likely the entire West Africa. They wanted to ensure the burning down of West Africa and changing of governments through violence. In Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, they already had the president, senators, ministers, commissioners. They already had them on ground from the same countries, now waiting for the war to happen. So their secret got busted. Major medias as usual, including these ones, Gravitas, BBC, Vantage, they all kept silent. They all kept silent. Radio silent. They are trying to give us different narratives. Formerly, it was an issue that came up between Trump and Elon. So it wasn't buying the much needed attention that was needed to distract the people. Probably because Ancient Idu and others that had the guts to speak out were countering the narrative of the Western media. In fact, the global media. Because I wouldn't say the Western media alone. India is not amongst the West. China too, they are not amongst the West. So I wonder why most of their channels or platforms are silent about what's going on. Trump made a promise to Traore that he made the worst mistake of his life, and Traore will pay with Africa. Alongside Africa, they will pay heavily. 2 warships were dispatched off the coast of our waters, that of Biafra and so on. There are 2 American warships there. This also brought in the Russian warship, which docked at Equatorial Guinea. From there, they started moving in weapons. China is already there. The theater of the real war, we believe, is in the motherland. They have already taken a position where they would go all gun blazing and bomb dropping. So whatever is going on between Iran, Israel, and the others is just the collateral damage of deception that they will use to distract people. Trust me, trust you, the Africans are usually foolish because they don't have this introspective insight to be able to decode high-frequency messages. They will either be engrossed with the gossip of what's going on, or they will be engrossed with the gossip of wanton foolishness and nudity. So, whatever is going on there shouldn't be our focus. The Air India crash, let's say, is a natural occurrence, not manipulated, wasn't enough to focus the attention of the people away. So there had to be a fight presently going on. You know, this fight has been cooking for a very long time. It has been boiling up. Some people will say we are wrong with our submissions. But the people that will usually say that are those that are myopic in sights. They are not able to foretell or look deep into a broader spectrum. Because the West, they don't believe, they don't have the mindset of the Africans that theirs is now. Let us eat today and forget about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. The West, the advanced world, they have what they call plan, you know, introspectively. They can say, okay, this our target is for the next 10 years. This our target is for the next 50 years or 100 years. And they will work accordingly. The one that brought up the idea might pass on in death, natural causes of death, and die. Then they go. The successor will continue. Even if the successor dies, another person will continue from there until they achieve that 100 years target. Then they will review it and put option B of another 100 years. Other people will come and continue. But the Africans, no, Africans they don't have that. Africans is now. That's why Africa is backward. This is the food for thought. If they are killing themselves in that region, let them do that. Not that they are there killing themselves, but meanwhile, their top mercenaries, their top dogs are in Africa wielding weapons. So why are they fighting in Yemen? Why are they fighting in Iran, Iraq, all those areas? When the same people that are fighting, their soldiers are in the motherland, preparing for war, organizing civil wars everywhere. Why? This is a critical question I need you all to ask. That's why we came up here today for this particular broadcast. To draw your attention and channel it back on track where it should be. And if you're a content maker or someone that has a platform that we believe should have a voice, should start thinking along this line. If they are fighting, they're destroying their countries, let them just keep it up. If they want to turn their nations to desert, well and good. But the good thing now is it's not going to be like the 1945 World War. After the World War, every penny, every cent they used to rebuild Europe and every other place that the war affected came from Africa. So they can burn down any place, just as they did to the World Trade Center and they rebuilt it. They can burn down every place, knowing fully well that the resources to rebuild it will come from Africa. Let us be on our guard and forget about their business. Secure the motherland. Let them destroy their places. When they come to the motherland to get resources to rebuild their places, they will pay through their nose. We will give them a high cost of payments that after they pay and rebuild their place, never again will anybody think of going to war, causing large-scale destruction because they have a cheap place where they can get resources from. Let them know that the motherland, this time around, you pay through your nose to get one resource from Africa to rebuild your place. Then, after you go through that, you will know how expensive it is to go to war, destroy properties, destroy lives. America is threatening. Israel, Britain, and France, they are threatening Burkina Faso to release their citizens, or else all hell might break loose. That's what they are doing. Let them focus on the war in the Middle East. Let them focus on the war in Russia. Let them not come to Africa to cause another war, because this is the plan of the globalists. This is their agenda. Cause war all over the world, secure their own countries, make it beautiful, and make it peaceful. In the next one, when we come back here again, we'll discuss this video that you're watching on your screen, then discuss what Idris Deby of Chad did to Trump and how Trump banned 16 countries from entering America. Out of the 16, 10 of those countries were Africa, including Republic of Congo, that has no crime record. Republic of Congo has no crime or terrorist record, no wars, nothing. But Trump banned them in the name of crime, war, and terrorism. But the country that has a crime, war, and terrorism is the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Trump called them good because he signed multi-billion dollars business with them. That is the Africans. Very, very useless people. Your people are dying, orchestrated from the war created by the same West. Your people are being slaughtered. You are signing multi-billion dollar contract with the killers of your people. I don't get this. I don't get it. Now, so that Trump will say, oh, Congolese, DRC, they are good people. You can come to America and display your stupidity of Dobolo dancing. So they just go. The DRC are mad people. Very mad. It is only in the DRC where you give them a bunch of naked women and they go crazy. They go crazy. So for that reason, they are allowing nonsense to happen in their countries. Then Trump banned a country that is... Trump even banned a country that has less than 700, far less than 1,000. I think it should be 700 or up to 700 people that ever applied for Americans' visas from the country. They hardly go to the US. Trump just called them up and banned them. Since they are African, once he looks at the country, say, oh, this is an African country. The name sounds terrible. For that reason, they are terrible. Bam, they ban. That is the way Trump did to ban them. Said, oh, because of the recent happening that happened in America, it was caused by the Africans that left Africa and went to America to start committing acts of terrorism. Look at the brazen effrontery of the abuse Africa is getting. Yet we have useless leaders that are doing the biddings of the West. War is going on in those places. It has nothing to do with Africa. When they say, oh, global order, South Africa will be the first to come out. We need to maintain a global order, according to Ramaphosa. Global order that doesn't care for this ordinary South African that is sleeping in the street. Global order that doesn't care for the education of the South African, the ordinary South African, that would destroy his house, sell it so that he or she can sleep in the street. You cannot educate your people to become responsible. But global order is what you are fighting for. That is a shame on African leaders, because Ramaphosa is guilty of such. You cannot instill hardcore discipline on your people and make them know the importance of education, but you are maintaining a global order that don't care about your people. It's a shame. Big time. Why the ordinary South Africans are out there looking for other blacks to fight, kill, and destroy. Why they are there praising, beating the drums of war. The entire world is going to war. So we need to make up war in our own side and be equal with the world since everyone is going to war. That is the mindset of the Africans. Always destructive. Well, oh well. With these little insights that brought us here today, we only came up here to talk about the bloodletting and the crazy things that's going on around the world. Why Africa shouldn't be part of this nonsense. Why we should try to focus, look inward integrally to rebuild ourselves, restructure ourselves, and put a tab on our resources. So when the West destroys their land, they will not get a free loading from Africa to rebuild their place. They will never get that free loading. We must block it. Since Africa is so poor that we cannot help ourselves, let us stay with our poverty and transact amongst ourselves. While you people, your own transaction is exchanging guns, bombs, and bullets, destroying lives and property. You people keep it up. Africa remains the cradle of humanity. And to that, we must try to integrate each other, to live harmoniously together with each other. All right? And your foolishness of democracy and human rights or left, we don't need those nonsense. Because it is your human rights and your human left that makes a full-grown man to dress like a woman, act like a woman, and sleep with a fellow man, man to man, which is never the culture of Africa. And such nonsense, we will purge it from this land. And we will show no mercy or pity to people that promote such lewdity and wickedness. Our ancestors and our forebears, they never had this in their time. So we, their descendants, shouldn't allow it to take root in our own generation moving forward. We must stop it. Let it remain in the West. Anyone that wants to be that crazy can relocate to the West and become whatever nonsense freak that they want he or she to become. So with this, we have come to the end of the broadcast of today. And let this broadcast be a food for thought that should be shared around, translated in any other language that you want to translate it, take it across the Sahel, and in fact, all over Africa, if not more so on the Western Africa, because that is the theater of war that the West have prepared technically. Thank you all for joining us on the program for today. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye from Asian to Do.
Pasapasa pelisizo sinyama Iwasafa
Isizo saba
Evula mo Eninko kelize Wemaye ngiyakhala Pasapasa pelisizo sinyama Iwasafa
Isizo saba
Alamula Eninko kelize wemaye wemodo.